There we go. And we're back. We are ready today for episode 8 of the Soccer Dad Pod. I got an amazing guest today. Really stoked for this because this is kind of part of our mission statement early out of the gate. We wanted to make sure that we didn't sound completely ridiculous and just bore people with soccer all the time. And this guy will not bore us with soccer for the next... hopefully at least 30 minutes, 40 minutes if he likes us, 50 minutes plus if we have a good time. So we'll see how this thing goes. Kicking it off with the Little Black Crows, given that I'm a kid of the 80s, 90s. Was listening to it yesterday, some fond memories, and brought it back today. With me, my illustrious carpool co-host, I've got Jared Bertrand back. Say hello, Jared.
Hello.
Thank you, Jared. Did that well. We are at a special place today. We are actually in Crestwood, Missouri, the original home of KC 95. Now is marked for an incredible space ran by an extremely accomplished St. Louisan here. We have Jesse Finney from Finney's and... What else? I mean, you got so many titles right now. You got so many empires. What's your claim to fame?
Soccer Dad.
Bingo.
Soccer
that was the
Dad.
right answer.
Yeah, Soccer Dad. So I own Finney's MMA here on Watson Road in Crestwood, Missouri, All-in-One Fitness Health Club as well. And I own Shamrock FC. Shamrock FC puts on the fights around the Midwest at a bunch of casinos. We've done 341 events over the last 24 years. We're actually celebrating 25 years through Finney's last month in October. So 25 years.
That's awesome.
It'll be 25 years. Thank you. It'll be 25 years for Shamrock in July
awesome.
Next year.
So I got out ahead of myself because typically we have this thing where on our show when we have guests, we play a game where we try to guess what would be the walk-up music, right? Baseball style, where... what were some of our other options? We did last week with Julio, or Claudio, our Brazilian soccer dad friend. I pulled out some Seu Jorge, some dumb shit from Brazil.
Yeah.
Went well. We've done everything. But for you, I was thinking about this last night. It came to me in a short, moment right before I fell asleep, before 9 o'clock, because I'm a lame soccer dad. Here we go. Tell me what you think. All right, I'm going to turn this up a little. Not that. Right? Yeah, I mean,
I like it.
You already like it, right?
You're going to come in and kick some ass.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as a kid, growing up, I was like, this dude's like hit a lot of people in the face really hard and got hit in the face really hard. Pantera walk. I'm like if I was ever a fighter, and I would never be a fighter because I'm not anywhere close to being tough enough, but I always imagine like that would be the song I would play.
Lamont Davis didn't know what was going to happen in the first round.
That brings me back. Yeah. Yeah.
So I took a guess as to what I thought your walk-up song should be. What is your walk-up song?
Oh, gosh. Now or then? I mean, this is pre-kids or kids?
You know what? Give us the bookends.
Oh, the bookends.
When you had zero fear and no responsibilities in your life and you had the gloves on, what did you like to play as you were walking into chaos?
Oh, Party Like a Rock Star. Do I know that was a good one? I did. To be honest, I really wasn't a big walkout song guy.
Really?
I really wasn't. I mean, I've been in the business. My stepfather was a fighter, so I grew up in the fight business. So for me, truly, like in the kickboxing world where I came from. Mm-hmm. Originally, and then into the MMA world, it's always been strictly a business to me. I mean, yes, I can fight. I don't know if I can fight anymore, but like it was always like something that I was actually pretty decent at. So to continue to run with it, like I can't say it was my true like. I guess I always did want to be a fighter, right? I always wanted to be a fighter just because it was something that I was good at. Like most kids at soccer, if they're good at soccer, they want to play more of it. But I never said to myself, "Oh, I'm going to be a fighter." I never going to be a fighter. I always loved the entertainment business. I always loved the fight business. But I really, crazy enough, I went into college. I wanted to be a fireman. right? Out of all things, I'm like, really? Like, wow, a fireman. And then, I don't know. And then I just knew I never really wanted to work for anybody else. That's what started the businesses and
Sure.
yada, yada.
So let me ask you a quick question then, because whenever I think of, because I know very few fighters, but the few that I've been around have extremely varying backgrounds or motivations to train and to fight in particular. And it seems like there's an extreme between individuals that come from a Zen perspective and those that come from an angst perspective. Like some just want to fight because they're mad or they're angry and they have that ability, and then there are others that look at it as more from the art athletic side of it. Can you speak to that spectrum, and how do you, much like, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the episode, which I'm sure you did. I mean, you probably listened to all these, but with Ken Godat, where he talks about identifying the it in a soccer player. Mm-hmm. In terms of Zen and angst, how do you look at a fighter, and how do you measure that when they walk in?
Are you asking for me as the type of fighter I was? Or are you talking about the fighters that I look at now?
No, you as the brand, and you have young youth coming into this place, mm-hmm. and you look at them and they want to fight. Do you ever measure that? Do you ever test where they're coming from and why? And how can you tell what it is?
I think, since I've been around it truly my whole life, I mean, since the time I was 9 years old, you can tell within the first 5 minutes of talking to somebody why they're truly into it and if they're in it for the right reasons. And that's number one. Number two, watching them train within probably the first 5 minutes, you're going to be able to tell them, okay. But there's also guys out there that really truly are grinders and work for it and get better at everything. And those are the kids that I love to watch get better. You got once I find in this business, the guys that it comes really naturally easy to usually tend to get quite arrogant pretty quick. Try to I don't know how to say this, but it's very easy to them, and you're in a physical game. They're beating people up for a living. Everyone's telling how great they are, and then they go to the next level, and then all of a sudden when it gets really hard, most of them crack. Right? Because you haven't had to work through the grind. You haven't had to be through the grind of the fight business, and you have to work your way there to it. You look at Michael Chandler's fight November 12th. I don't know when this episode is going to show, but a kid
before that.
Okay. Michael Chandler, he's fighting Saturday, right? So he's a kid that was a walk-on at Mizzou, a walk-on wrestler at a D1 school. You know what? You don't walk on at a D1 school nowadays and become an All-American like Michael Chandler did.
No.
Right? And now, why Michael Chandler's so successful? He had to work for it.
Yeah.
But I think that goes with anything in life. But I think that the type of fighters, you got some guys out there that are very smart and to go about the game the right way and take care of their body physically, mentally. Michael Chandler. You look at these guys, right? And I've literally, I've seen the most talented guys that could do it all. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to work hard in the training room, it's not going to get you there.
Yeah.
And I can also say, on the other hand, I've seen a lot of guys that are really good in the training room that can't translate into a crowd. So there's a lot of that it goes both ways, man. But you got to have it all upstairs, and that's why only few truly make it long term and can be successful. And also with this game is you're only as good as your last fight.
Sure.
You're only as good as your last fight. Are the people around you there because you're famous, or because you're the hot topic of the week, or are they truly there because they care about you? Being your attorneys and the people in your CPAs and everyone else is, you're saving your money the right way. Oh, by the way, are you paying your taxes? Because, it's a lot, some of the people know, some states, they'll hold your taxes out after they give you your check. Some states you have to pay your taxes at the end of the year. So, and a lot of these guys, that's why they get caught up with their taxes and all kinds of crap.
Yeah, there's sharks everywhere. I mean, like our show, the sponsors beating down the door, mm-hmm. wanting just a piece of us.
Yep.
It's freaking
it's crazy, isn't it?
Tiring.
The clothing shows up at our door daily. Thanks, Kip Thompson. We really appreciate that. The Capelli rain gear. Quick shout out to Capelli Sports.
He's awesome. And I did listen to your episode with Godat, and that's when you kind of reach out to me because I liked your stuff, and it was a great, fascinating episode.
Well, I appreciate that. We were talking a little bit before we came on the air here, the point, or maybe we were mentioning to our tour guide. We wanted to make sure that this show in spite of its name being the coolest name ever, we didn't bore people in the minutia of soccer. We wanted to get behind the individuals that are around the game, and you're clearly a unique individual in the sense that you've got this extremely bright light, big city brand that is Shamrock and Finney's in the gym and the fighting brand itself, and your relationship with Guns and Hoses. We'll talk about that here in a second, but let's talk a little bit about the other side, which was an easy ask for me to reach out to you, and that is you have 2 children, correct?
Correct.
And there are burgeoning soccer phenoms, studs, players, right? You hope. We all hope, right?
Depends on the day.
Yeah, but
At this age.
We've all been on the in the same beer line out at Soccer Park in Fenton. So talk a little bit about your intro into the SLSG world. Tell us a little bit about your role as a soccer dad.
My role as a soccer dad is truly, it's changed a lot in the last year and a half. I grew up playing soccer my whole life. I love soccer, but my wife is a professional volleyball player. I was a professional fighter and played baseball through college, and then all of a sudden our kids want to play soccer. So it was like, okay, well, here we are. And obviously that's, for Scott Gallagher in St. Louis is obviously a huge club and couldn't be happier. That's number one. 2, I was coaching like a little recreational team for the girls side, and decided, we're going to step it up a little bit. So probably, I guess 4 or 5 years ago now, we took the girls team out there and started coaching out there, which was awesome. And then, turned the girls over, I think 2 years ago, over to the girls side. Now it's called the academy.
Sure.
My daughter plays out there, and then I still help Carlton Williams and Sterling Westcott as well on the girls side. And then on the boys side, I coached for I think 2 or 3 years out there on the boys side, and turned them over this year to the academy with Ken Godat and Tom Dolan and Ben Perkins as the coach. And it's
well, let me ask you a question though along those lines, because obviously being a type A entrepreneur, competitor, etc., you're at a club. We were at the club. I'm still at the club. I have a son same age as your son. They're playing together. How do you? Because I'm similar in a sense that I was a soccer player, right? Jared and I both were, and we put our kids into the club. We know the club is a Type A club. We know that they excel. At some point, our babies are handed off to them. You are kind of at that point where that's occurring in real time. Talk to other soccer dads about how you handle it and any advice that you would give, because ours is probably very similar.
So you're going to find this probably crazy, and you probably would never, and people out there listening will probably never think it's true, but I've done big multi-million-dollar deals and with a room full of attorneys and you name it, and it never really bothered me. When I had to give up my girls team for the first time because I didn't know exactly what was going to shake out, and then walk through it, and then hand my son over and his team, swear on my kids, I lost sleep for days. I was nervous. I was sick to my stomach, and I'm like, hold on. And actually, I called King Godat, and I was like, okay, so how does this process work? And I said, and he walked me through it. And man, like, it's crazy, but you'd think that, like, I guess it's the fear of the unknown, but they say trust the process, right, as they say. But man, I mean, you're King Godat. I mean, truly, at the end of the day, you've been doing this for 22 years. Well, the man knows it. Like, it's to me, and my wife is a professional. She's a volleyball coach right now in a big club, the biggest club in St. Louis. And so for us, we're very big on how people talk to kids, how the structure is, how everything goes about it, and it's unbelievable.
Well, I mean,
it's fascinating, to be honest with you. If you go watch these 9-year-old boys,
sure,
and you have Ben Perkins, Ken Godat, Tom Dolan with 11-year-old, we were talking about this. Like, it's to me, I'm like, are you guys serious? How do you even think of this stuff?
Yeah, that exact scenario last year, because our middle, Jared's oldest and my middle, they were on the same team last year at the club. At one point, we were I think it was a Saturday or Sunday game. We're standing at Soccer Park, and you look down, and on the bench, you've got Tim Leonard, played at the highest level, college. You have Brad Davis, national team, right. MLS, all-time assist, second all-time assist getter, and you have Steve Trittschuh, who played in Europe,
the national team.
captain of the national team, and it's like, I bet I know more than those guys do for my kid, right? You know, it's
Well-
like this false sense of like, you know, we forget how good these guys are.
Well, you alluded to it when you were toughest thing you ever did. You were in boardrooms and giving your daughter's team up, giving your son's team up. Were tough things. I mean, you've been a type A. You've been successful at everything you've done. Your wife is clearly successful. You put a lot of time into your kids' sporting. It's hard. I mean, you know, we both played at a decently high level, and you want the best for your kids, and so you think at a young age you're giving it to them. There's a time that you hand it over, and it's extremely tough because
Well, let me
they just need to be at the right place. And I mean, these guys that we're talking about,
yeah,
pretty sure they're the right place.
let me ask you a question. Your transition. How are you handling being the dad now? You know, with other people, because that is something that most dads fail at at different points. What do you think about that?
Well, let me just go backwards just for a second. I will get back to that too.
Sure.
And this could be like a psychology for dads out there, but I wasn't just turning over my daughter, and I wasn't just turning over my son. I was just turning over the whole team.
Yeah.
So it was like, and these girls that I had, you know, since first grade, right? So like it was like you these relationships, and it was just these kids. You wanted to make sure every kid was in the right spot, and they just were taken care of and talked to. So it was like all these little girls that, you know, they still believe in Santa Claus, right? It's like,
Right.
Oh my gosh, these are just kids. Well, the same thing with the boys. Like last year, you know, you're turning them over. You're like, I just want to make sure at the end of the day, you know, the coaches who are going to be the coaches. Are these coaches going to be, you know, good people outside of soccer? How are they going to talk to them on the soccer field? Because, you know, I just want, it's not just about soccer, right? So I mean, that's number one. Like,
well, and the teams like what you're talking about, because we've all coached our kids' teams at certain points. It's not just the kids on the field, because unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, and it depends on how the parents handle it. It's the relationship amongst the parents too. You've got a pod of families. That everybody's there to watch the kids play, but let's be honest with ourselves. There's a certain relationship that blooms and or festers amongst the parents through this process. So, you know, go ahead and finish what you were going to say about the sideline aspect, though.
I will say this as well as being the sideline aspect of it. I could not be happier.
Yeah.
You know, I truly, and there's not a day, not one practice, not one day that I watch those boys and think to myself, I did the wrong thing. It's never even crossed my mind. And because I watch them train and how much they care about them. And I love, like, the way that Godat and Perkins are, and who knows Dolan, right? I mean, but like Dolan's a pretty serious guy, but he's a great coach. But Perkins and Ken are just, they're like, they relate to these kids so well. There's kids, you know, and like, they're just, I don't know how they come up with these drills. And these kids are just so spoiled, I should say, to be able to have the guys like that they have. And I've told my wife this. I'm like, if you can't get better with those type of coaches, then you're just not going to get better. But it's not just that. It's the way that they teach them. They also do the things that make them love the game, the chanting and the little. I mean, just I could go on and on.
Keep it fun.
They keep it fun and light, and it's like, man, I just told someone this the other day, and it's a friend of mine. She played at University of Texas, and I was like, these people get wrapped up in this so much, and yes, it is a big deal, and it is a huge deal for me as well. But like, let's not lose the fact that these kids still believe in the Easter Bunny.
Yeah,
like truly, like, hey, like, chill out. Let's enjoy this process. I mean, half the time when the games are going on, I mean, I'll sit down on the ground and the lawn, and you know, and just enjoy it. And I don't know if Jeff Roseman, Roseman's son's on our team, and I sit with Jeff, or I'll sit with like the guys that. But I no matter what, and take this the wrong way, but I'm not going to get caught up in the bullshit either. Like, for me, like, if you got something to say it to the coach, don't say it to me. Just because I was your son's coach, like, I don't want to hear it. Like, hey, I'm a dad now. Like, leave me alone. Let me do my thing. Let me enjoy my process as well. And then, like, also at the same time, like, support these guys, man. I mean, you got someone like Godat and Perkins that are out there. They're getting friendlies for these kids on a Sunday night at 6:00. They're not. You think they're getting paid extra for that? No, man.
No.
These guys are. I mean, and see, as a parent coach, I'll just leave it as a parent coach. We would do that stuff all the time because you cared. Correct. You know, and like that's what no one ever really saw. And you're paying extra referees, and you're paying for extra field time. You're doing all that stuff, but because you cared.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you got like paid coaches that are actually still doing that too. Like that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and the other thing is there's a progression that occurs when the kids are playing at a higher level, and really should occur at all levels if it was possible. But what you'll find is the decibel level of parents as the kids get older. You're on a good team if the decibel level of the parents goes down as the kids get older, because you have this understanding that they understand the process. Ken talks about it a lot. Trust the process. But for the parents, part of that is also, they're not implying don't root for your kids, but stick to being positive, stick to being good job, etc. But once you take the joystick dads off the sideline, at clubs like this, that's when you see the kids really start to excel, and that's the cool thing that I think they do well. And a quick disclaimer: every other soccer club in this town has been invited and will come on this show. This is not an SLSG Homer. Thank you.
No.
It's been brought to my attention. Like, man, you're Gallagher heavy. I'm like, well, come on the show, right? It's just that I do think that their model works, and other models work as well. And it's just gonna be a matter of time before we talk about the St. Louis scene as a whole. Yeah.
Right, and I don't want to leave out like the girls' side either, right? Because my daughter's on the girls' side, and if you see how with what's going on out there, and the girls just won the national championship, and with what they're doing, and it's been a great process as well, like with everything that goes on.
Well, I think it's amazing what they do is the commitment updates. I mean, that side of the equation at the club, you're talking 1 to 2 a day, where they're dropping social media of all these girls that are getting, full rides, good rides to D1, D2 schools.
We're talking North Carolina. We're talking Alabama.
We're talking the Blue Bloods.
Yeah,
absolutely,
the big dogs.
Yeah, so it's really impressive. So let's kind of shift it up a little bit then. Let's get back to the fighting side of things. I know here we are coming into the holiday season. We mentioned it briefly earlier. We alluded to it, but it's your relationship with a cause clearly near and dear to you, that is Guns and Hoses. So give us the quick 101 for those that aren't familiar, and let's pull that back a little bit.
Sure. So I'm the vice president of Budweiser Guns and Hoses, which is a yearly event the night before Thanksgiving. 35 years. This year will be the 35th year. 100% of the proceeds go back to first responders, fallen first responders' families. All goes to backstoppers. I will tell you that it's probably the best cause I've ever been a part of. I do this all for free. We spend a lot of time, a lot of money on this, and if you are a supporter of first responders and something along those lines, you've never been, I highly recommend you go. If not, it's on TV on Fox 2. And myself, Chris Pronger, and Tom Ackerman are actually doing the broadcast this year as well as last year. It'll be great. Bob Costas is involved. We got Joe Buck's involved this year. It's all the celebrities in St. Louis, and it's actually where all the politicians actually go and get along for the night. So that are so
rare.
Well, there's a bunch of dudes walking around with gloves on. They're like,
yeah,
I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. So, and it's something, if you've never been to it, it's we've sold out 19. We sold out in 2018, 2019. That thing called COVID was 2020. I did not have the event, so 2021 was our first time back. We sold almost 12,000. This year we're already over 12,000, so we'll hope probably have another 20, probably have 20,000 in there again. It's a combination of boxing, kickboxing, and mixed martial arts, and we do it all. Night before Thanksgiving last year, we raised $1 million.
Wow,
$1 million on one night.
When was MMA brought into the fold in that event? Because when it initially started, it was just boxing, correct?
I put my foot down and said, I'm not getting involved unless it's MMA.
Nice.
I'm kidding. I was involved in getting that involved.
Good.
Yeah. So
good.
I mean, we got to change with the times a little bit too. We're never going to lose the fact that where we came from, and that's from the boxing aspect of it. And it used to just be amateur boxing, and now it's professional and amateur boxing. So we're trying to widen the gap a little bit with the people that we reach, and we're going to continue to keep doing that.
How many events? How many fights will be that night?
That night we have 13 fights right now. As of right now, I'm sure somebody will get the. Usually happens where someone gets a little too nervous and they get sick, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Or something. But I will say this is first responders against other first responders, right? So you'll see guys that are like, listen, I don't care. I don't want to fight. I want to compete for the cause. and that's truly what they do is that night is all the money goes back to there's one paid employee.
So how many years have you been doing this?
I've been doing this my 13th year this year.
Okay, so you've seen plenty of fights, right?
I've seen plenty of fights.
At specifically Guns and Hoses, because here's where I'm going with this.
Yep.
Because I fully intend on creating a huge rift in the city of St. Louis.
Okay.
Who's tougher,
Okay.
firemen or cops?
Depends on the day.
Come on.
know, it's
Look,
really- it's
there's like
very-
7 people that listen to this podcast, so you're good.
Last year, I think the cops.
Pow, pow.
I think last year, I think the cops won the last 2 years.
Did they really?
Yeah, I think the cops won the last 2 years. It's always pretty close. I will tell you that. And they keep track of it, right? And
How many female fights out of the 13?
I think we have 2. We had one. No, we have 1. 2. 1. We had another one that fell off.
Okay.
Right, and it changes. So each year, I mean, it changes. From we try to mix it up with boxing, kickboxing. We try to boxing, kickboxing, MMA, and then we try to do some females on there as well. I mean, we try to reach out to anything and everything.
That's awesome. So you guys, you're 13 years in. You got to go in this year. We didn't get the date. What's the date, and how do people, if they want to go and be part of it, how do they do that? Give us some details there.
So the date is always the night before Thanksgiving. This year it's going to be November 23rd. Starts at 5:00 at the Scott Trade Center. There's an Enterprise now, I guess, right?
I mean,
Or vice versa. I don't know. It's Enterprise.
I think it's Enterprise.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I
Enterprise.
still
Enterprise.
call it the Checkerdome.
Right. Right.
They just moved
right.
it.
I still call it the Keel.
That's funny. That's funny.
Same Riverport.
Yep.
Right?
Yes, for sure.
Well-
so anyway, night before Thanksgiving, you can get them online, gunsandhoses.com. You can get them through Ticketmaster, but also, we're streamed live all over the world on Fight TV, FIT.TV.
Okay.
For free that night, and then we'll also be on Fox 2 live from 7 to 9 as well.
Okay.
Great.
Awesome. Great cause. Love that you do it. We're going to roll out here, take a quick break, be back. Thank you. We're on with Jesse Finney over here at his club in Crestwood. Check it out, and we'll be right back after the break.
Choose the words that cut like a razor.
All right. We're back. Short break. Recap. Had to call in the cut man and kind of get cleaned up a little bit. I got plenty of dumb analogies here that you're probably like, what a nerd.
Can you keep that music going? That's really good.
Yeah, you like that?
I'm
Well, we
kidding.
got to be careful because copyright, if we talk over it, we're fine. But if I let it go, YouTube's going to be like, where do you take that down? This is clearly the...
Is this Dana? Is this,
if this was
Dana
my brother, I would not be here talking to you guys. No offense. I mean, you guys are cool and all. But actually, I probably still would be because he would be like, go pound sand. You're my older brother. So we're back here. We have Jesse Finney with us from Finney's MMA here in Crestwood. We've been talking all things soccer dad / fighting / guns and hoses, volleyball wives, etc. Country music now, right? We're really kind of running the gamut. So you've been, how long have you been at this location?
This location here, we've been here 13 years.
13 years.
First gym was, so we've been here for 13 years. We were at Crestwood Mall before that. Had one in Granite City, where you're from. Had one in gym in Granite City. Had one in Kansas City. Had 2 in Kansas City, actually. Had one, where else were we at? I don't even know. We had one actually, we had one in Wentzville at one point. And we've had, I've had so many, honestly. And we've always kind of been in the business where we go in and clean them up and then sell them. And this has always been kind of like our staple. That's what we, in the one in Granite City was the old Hit Squad with Matt Hughes.
Oh, yeah. I remember that because, we, at Granite City High School, there were, in essence, 2 camps back in the day. You either were a soccer player or you were a wrestler.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't play football or basketball because you were in Southwestern Conference with East St. Louis and East St. Louis High. So no matter what, if you wanted to get out of conference, you had to do one of the other 2 sports. So knew a lot of wrestlers, good wrestlers that went through there. And you guys, you dropped that gym in there probably 15 years ago or something.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
well, it really wasn't me. The whole backstory on that is actually soccer, goes back to soccer here again. Jeff Cooper.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
The attorney Cooper and Simmons, and then I don't know if he was running Gallagher out there or was part of the whole situation.
The
merged,
Metro.
yeah, and merged the clubs, whatever.
Yeah.
So Cooper actually owned the Hit Squad over in Granite City, and they weren't doing real well, and came to me a couple times, and I ended up purchasing it off of him, and did everything with that, and then ended up selling it like 4 years later.
Okay. So your gyms have been all over the place. We were just talking offline. Your childhood, you were a Southsider, true South City guy, right?
True. Yeah.
Over by Roosevelt.
Yep.
How old were you when you were living on the South Side? How long?
So my mom met my stepfather when I was 9 years old, or 8 years old, 8 or 9 years old. I lived. I went to Baldwin and Ellisville. I went to Ellisville Elementary, and then went to Baldwin Elementary. I went to, I think I went to 4 schools in 8 years. So,
oh jeez,
it was just
you're like a military kid,
right? But you got to take the positive out of it at the end of the day. Like, I'm able to talk to anybody. I can get along with anybody. It doesn't matter,
Sure.
White, black, orange, rich or poor. Doesn't matter to me. I can get along with anybody. So then my mom met my stepdad, moved down by Roosevelt. Right, like two, 3 blocks.
What was that
Roosevelt.
culture shock like? I mean, at Baldwin Elementary, you were, sharing lunches, and then you get down to Roosevelt. Is that when you learn how to fight?
That's exactly when I learned to fight. I mean, it was either kill or be killed. I mean, that's really what happened. And then, like, a couple times, I got my bike stolen, and my stepdad was like, "Listen, you're a pretty rough kid anyway. So, like, once you're going to have to start fighting." I was like, well, he's like, if they're going to keep taking your bike, if you don't, stick it up for yourself.
Well, that was also at a time within a particular generation in which you weren't as afraid of guns.
Right.
You could still do that.
Sure. So I moved from Baldwin to St. Francis de Sales on the south side.
South side.
Right. So I went there, and then, realistically, like, my stepdad was a fighter, and then he owned a karate school up in Delwood, Missouri. Okay. It was kickboxing and boxing up there, and then so I would go up there every night, every day, and we'd fight. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. And I was wrestling as well then. Yeah. So I was wrestling and doing kickboxing and boxing, and then I just got into it. And first couple of years were, I'm not kidding you when I say I probably should not say this, but I was probably in 50 to 60 fights, 70 fights a year, just because I was finally like, man, I like most guys that are fighters, they probably were getting bullied at some point in their life, right? And
right.
I was always the kid truly, and probably to this day, I'm a pretty laid back guy, but if you mess with people, like they're any of my friends or someone around me, then there's going to be a problem, right? So, like, if somebody would mess with one of my friends, and I was the only one that could fight in the group, so I was fighting them. And
So what about on the sideline? Do you ever, like, feel that tinge in your gut with your kids on the field? Clearly, I'm not insinuating that you're going to go and, like, choke somebody out, a ref or another coach or whatever. But being someone that has that in him, we all have it in us to a degree. When it applies to your kids, does it hit different, and how do you manage that?
I've never really had that towards, like, my kids. I've never really had it. You understand something. This is my second year on the sidelines, so I've never really had that. I will tell you, there was an incident a couple months ago or so where one of the dads from the other team was, like, completely disrespecting the moms from our team, and I was like, and no one was hearing it, and I was by myself sitting there, and I was like, man, is this guy really talking to these ladies like this? And then finally, I just looked over to the guy. I was like, hey, man, you really need to, like, stop, like, chill. And he looked at me like, okay. Like, that was really it. But I was like, just stop. Yeah. Essentially. But no, nothing. I've not really. Like, none of that. But I've always been a protector in my life, honestly.
Over under, you think you would do pretty well in a situation like that?
Let's not find out.
All the kids would be mortified.
Yeah. Let's not find out.
Hold on. Let's text the attorneys real quick and make sure they're right to answer that question.
Right.
Well, okay. So I'm trying to, like, set the table here, because you obviously have experience within the St. Louis area, engaged with organizations like the Guns and Hoses. You've lived on the south side. You're a city guy. Your business is in the county. Where's home roughly? Are you north, south, east, west? Where?
I am in Sunset Hills. So which is crazy. We got some land, so we're able to. It almost feels like the country.
Okay.
So we're lucky enough where I grew up in the city. I lucky enough. I got back school, and then I basically, met my wife when I was 25. She was 22.
Nice.
Ended up getting married when I think I was 35. I don't even know. I don't know. It all kind of runs together. And then we built the house that we're in now. We're in Sunset Hills, and it could not be better. And we got horses. And
Yeah, volleyball court. You got a soccer court, I hear.
yeah.
That's a true soccer dad.
Yeah.
Hey, Jared does his homework, man. He's got the insight,
We're lucky.
Well, so here's where I'm going with this, because on Tuesday was my birthday, November 8th.
Happy birthday.
And I'm a political science junkie.
Oh boy.
And it was election day.
All right.
Your business, your personal experiences, you've crossed the city-county line to do it all.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, and this topic came up in my episode with Brian Shire, Mark Montavani lost to Sam Page.
Mm-hmm.
For the region, give me your opinion on city-county and that race in particular, because
we're going
matters.
Political.
We're going regional because there's nobody listening to this within our backyard that doesn't have a very strong opinion as to the city in regards to the county relationship, etc., and probably knows little less about the county executive role in that. So I'm just going to open the door and hand you the shovel and just let me know how deep the hole gets, and we'll keep going.
So, I cannot stand Sam Page.
Who can? I can't even believe he got elected. Who can?
I can't stand him.
Well, apparently, majority of voters can.
Yes.
So, and full transparency, I voted for Mark Montavani. So,
and so did I. But that's why it's an election. Whenever but I will respect who he is and what he does, but I feel like the whole thing with the whole COVID situation, he overstepped his bounds on so many multiple ways, right? Yeah. I respect it. It's going to be safe and everything, and I'm good for all that. But the way he went about it, I was 100% for Montavani. You probably shouldn't talk politics in business because it's going to piss half the people off, and
sure.
the other people love you, hate you. But it is what it is, and that was, to be honest with you, I was very heavily involved. I was very, I watched the whole thing that night, and I just feel like I really wish that Sam Page could do so much better with less arrogance. I don't know which way to say it.
Well, and arrogance is maybe the word. Is the word smug? Is that the same word? Because he's smug about it.
Well, I think that let's not take away the fact that the dude is very, very smart. He's very, very, very smart. He's extremely accomplished in his career. I think that the way that the COVID scenario here in our region in particular rolled out with such vitriol between MoLeg in particular. The state of Missouri is a red state. Everybody knows that. Hell, people in Helsinki listening to this podcast know that we have Josh Hawley, right? They know that. There's nuance here in our backyard with the city of St. Louis County clearly being more middle left. So would you have wanted Sam Page's job when all that's going down? Like, how does it go well?
That's a great point. No, I wouldn't have. But I do feel like there have been different ways to go about it, just like anything else. And to come in and just keep showing how much power you really, truly have, it was over the top.
It was too much his way or the highway.
That's exactly how I felt. And you know what? You understand something? I'm a business owner. So I'm a business owner. I live in the county, but I also do a lot of business in St. Charles as well. So we deal with the Ameristar Casino. We deal with River City Casino. So you had two different areas where it's a whole different world in St. Charles, and but at the same time, you've got St. Louis County, but at the same time, like, can't we work together
all day?
On so many different fronts. And quite frankly, if you look at all the people that worked for him that he put in office that are going to federal prison right now, I mean, at some point, like, I'm not accusing him by saying that by any means, but man, pick some better people.
Well, I think that Missouri and Illinois in particular, we have a juggernaut here in our region of sending elected officials to federal penitentiaries, like on the regular. Like they could build a prison specific for our elected officials. That's a whole other topic, but go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, my question to you, kind of getting past the politics and a little bit more into policy, a little bit more into looking at our region and what could be better, because you're boots on the ground and you have a personal attachment to the city. The biggest event that you care about, that you donate your time, is all about the city for the most part, right? What do we need to do to bridge this gap?
Well, it's not just all for the city, just so you know that. It's for the metropolitan area, from Wentzville to Illinois to anywhere to first responders. So
right.
We have guys that, for backstoppers, it's who Backstoppers supports. And so for us, that's what I am involved with. So I didn't really... I literally, I say this all the time, it's the best insurance policy you never hope you have to use, right? So and it's like, for me, I'm involved in this process because I truly care about the city, the county, everybody. I don't have one person in my family, not one, that's a first responder. Not one.
Right.
Like I truly, to be quite frank with you, I'd probably say the number one reason I am involved, because I care about everybody and the first responders, but it's also my way of, I've seen it, man. I lived in the city. I lived in a pretty rough area for a long time where you were scared to go out. You know what? And the cops protected you. And you know what? You also, I appreciate the cops and I appreciate the first responders, but also like I was the guy that like I would see all this stuff going down and I'm like, oh my gosh, man, I'm just lucky to get out of here.
Well,
like I literally, I would think at night, like we would hear gunshots all the time. Like, and I was like, I'll do anything to get out of this place.
Yeah. So here's the thing that I respect about your position and your perspective is here's the reality of the situation is you live there, you understand the streets. I have to assume that you've had probably a long line of fighters over the years that have come from those types of neighborhoods, those cross streets per se. So you understand it. And myself, when I moved back here in 03, 04, and I started renovating, getting into construction and things like that, I was exclusive on the south side in the neighborhoods that nobody wanted to be in, because it was all speculative. I saw a side of it for the next 15 years that I think you would probably agree with. When I hear people from St. Charles County in particular, or Jeffco, or frankly anywhere outside of 270, telling me or suggesting to individuals like ourselves, this is what you need to do in the city, that's where I get frustrated. How does it make you feel when you know both sides of that fence? Like, how do we bridge that gap?
It's a great question. You never find someone, and I mean this, and King Godad actually knows this, like I have the biggest soft spot for the inner city kids because I was one of those kids. Right. So to see these kids, I want to give them every opportunity to get out and see the region, because a lot of these kids, that's all they see. Like you don't realize that. Like that's all they know. So until you realize there's a different world out there that you can be a part of, they don't know. Right. I know it. Like I see these kids. I boxed at 12th and Park, right? Where like it was, I mean, like I was the only white kid there. And it was like, but everyone treated me the same. Until you prove yourself, you're just another smug off the street, right? Yeah. But like, so I guess I'm rambling here, but like, I'm very passionate about the city, the county, because not a lot of people have done that and seen that and lived in the city. They came out to the county and realized that there's other opportunities, and there's also like there's a lot of opportunities in the city as well. Absolutely, yeah. And like there's so many opportunities for so many different kids, but also business opportunities as well. My first business was one block west of Bevo Mill, right? So I was 790 square foot, right at the corner of Gravely and Wilcox. My first gym. Yep. Right there. Little itty bitty place, and it was right in the heart of a little Bosnia, right? Yep. Bosnians came in, treated me just perfect. You know what? I treated the Bosnians perfect. It was hardworking guys. It was a great relationship. So I see all these aspects from everybody. And it's like we as a region can do so much better.
Absolutely.
And that's why I feel like when I say we, I mean me, you, Sam Page, Manavani. I hope Page listens to Manavani's views and work together as a region, because at the end of the day, we're all going to win at that point.
Yeah. It's funny because talking about, that part of the city, and boxing down at 12th and Park, and I'm assuming you probably worked out at Boys Club too down.
Yeah, play baseball down there all the time. But
yeah,
yep.
So Ken's program, the Upper 90 program. In the back of my head, I'm envisioning that within the next 5 to 7 years, if they continue to be funded, and that's something we need to talk about as well on the show. Can you imagine what that team would look like? Because, okay, you were down in the city, the kids that were kickboxing and training, MMA, and all these other things, they are athletes, and they have a chip on their shoulder. Within the soccer community, the amount of immigrant neighborhoods that are blossoming down there, in addition to the inner city neighborhoods that just have kids that need a chance. What do you think about the potential of the player pool, of the kid pool? Like if more orgs like yours and Ken's, what do you think that could do to those neighborhoods and for those families?
You know what? I take, and I really mean this, don't take this the wrong way, but I take the athlete out of it. I don't care about the kid that's the athlete. I want all these kids just to be able to see that there's another side of it where these kids can also enjoy the game. And guess what? It keeps them out of trouble.
Oh,
and you know what? Yeah. And it keeps them some structure in their life. Yes, you're going to get some great athletes. We're going to get some great athletes anywhere. Like I'm not saying to get shot and killed. Like, I mean, that's for me. I look at it in a different perspective. Like, I just want these kids to live a great life.
Yeah.
The athlete, that means nothing to me.
No,
like,
I don't mean to sound like shallow or crass when
I'm not trying to say you were.
No,
but I mean,
I can be. Trust me. I mean, ask my wife, ask Jared. He'll vouch for that. And frankly, anybody that really knows me knows I can be shallow. But in this particular case, yes. If I were to back up, I'm with you. I think these kids need fully funded schools, and they need parents with jobs, and they need all these things so that they can just be engaged.
They can be kids.
They can be kids. Exactly. I mean,
how hard is it? And that's where I kind of alluded to it earlier. Like when you get into these media debates in particular, where people are like passing all these simple solutions as to what the city should do, it's like, stop. Let's just give these kids a basketball court with hoops. Forget about nets. Let's start with hoops first, things like that,
And give them the opportunity as a structured program.
Yes.
It's structured programs where they get a chance just like everyone else gets a chance. But, I love what Ken does in bringing the kids out to the park because, you understand, some of these kids have never been past, 270.
Right.
Half of them have never been out of the city.
Yeah, west of Skinker.
I mean, it really is like, that's why, you're on a subject that's really, I'm really passionate about because of the kids. Yeah. And I can just say that, like, I witnessed the kids that never got out, right? And I witnessed the kids. I was stabbed twice by the time I was 14 years old. I was stabbed at. I was shot at. One time it's done, right? And I'm like, now I'm here with like wife and kids and great kids and successful businesses because I got a chance.
Do you ever talk about the details, those kind of things with your kids? Just kind of give them a frame of reference.
You know what? I took my son down last year. My son's a great kid. I love him to death. But he's also
oblivious to the real world.
He's oblivious. He's a total surfer. He's a total surfer, biggest smile on his face at all times, and just loves the next day is the better day, right? Like, my daughter's a pretty serious kid. She's a pretty serious kid. Took them down there, and they were like, "Hold on. You went to school down here?
Yeah.
There's no playground. There's the windows are all broken out of these houses down here. I'm like." This is, but I want you guys to see this. Like, you know what? You have to see this. This is what you have to understand. Is like, you know what? Like, because guess what? The same thing I said about those kids from the city coming to the county. Well, the kids from the county going down to the city, they don't know that either.
Right.
So and they're like, my son, I'll never forget this statement. He's like, "Yep, that house doesn't look real sturdy." I'm like, little 7 to 8 year old kid. He's, I don't know, that didn't look real sturdy.
No, it's funny because I have a kind of like it'll come off sounding completely privileged, but it's a symmetrical story. We were in Costa Rica a couple years ago for family vacation. Santa Claus doesn't give us presents; he gives us plane tickets. And we took off for Costa Rica with the boys, and we immerse. We went, we disappeared. We're staying in the middle of the country around. It's called Lake Arenal, and this little village was at the bottom of the road where the house was that we were staying in. Well, next door to the little bodega, which was only empanadas, cheap beer, and stray dogs, was a futsal court. And we saw it the first day we were there, and the kids were like,
We got to go.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, let's go. And the second they walked on this thing, and it was fenced in, cyclone fence, but it was a decent little court. It was probably the nicest structure in this little village. They start playing, and guess what? You know what happens, right? All of the village kids start to show up, and none of them speak English, and clearly my kids don't speak good Spanish at all, donde el baño, and that's about it. And 30 minutes later, they're bros. They're all like experiencing it, and when we walked away, I think it was my middle, Beckett was like talking about, he's like, those are nice kids, and I can't believe they live here. Like he felt bad. He felt this guilt, and we had to travel 4 or 5 hours for them to go and have that experience when your kids took a 20-minute drive down 44, and it's right here.
Right. I mean, I will tell you, like, so not change the subject here, but I worked with Chuck Norris for 2.5 years, 3 years, no, probably 3 years. And our thing is, I worked for the World Combat League, right? I was one of the coaches, and our organization ran everything for all their events across the country. Mm-hmm. And one thing that we would always do, and every time we would go to each city, we'd have to go into the inner city and meet with the kids and give them tickets to come to the events. And I can tell you, it's one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done. Just getting, and then you get to see half the kids couldn't get a ride there, but then half the kids would come. Yeah. It was absolutely amazing. And then I worked for Chuck for 3 years, and I'd say two out of 3 of those years I was his bodyguard. So we would go.
Wait.
You were Chuck Norris's bodyguard? Let's back up. Let's stop what we're talking about here. Does Chuck
Great
Norris
story.
need a
Let's talk about bodyguard.
Well, let me finish that story. Yes, I was. Yeah. So we would go, we give out tickets, and we give out merchandise, and all these kids would want to come up. Half these kids didn't even know who Chuck Norris even really was, like, and at this point, right? But like their parents would come, their parents would love Chuck Norris more than the kids loved him. Yeah. So like it was extremely rewarding.
Okay, so back to the bodyguard thing.
Yeah.
When you engage kids like that, and I'm not talking about the bodyguard thing, but when you engage kids in a scenario like that, how do you transfer that empathy and that engagement to your children? Do you have a process? Do you talk to them? Do you make them, like Christmas time, do they go and help donate or cook food? How do you get them involved?
For us, like, and no one's fault except my own, because each year I say this, and this is our plan this year. We don't do Christmas. We're not going to give them Christmas gifts. We go and we donate Christmas gifts downtown. Right. So we're making it happen this year, believe it or not. I mean, this will be the first year, but every year I've wanted to do it for the last 3 years. But they just stopped believing in Santa Claus. So now all of a sudden it's like, okay, now this can be real, sure. Right? Yeah. So now we're going to go give out gifts downtown, the Salvation Army. Yeah. I would say that we would do stuff for like Thanksgiving, but guess what? We got guns and hoses the night before. I am absolutely selfishly exhausted, and I haven't had a chance to actually.
Hey, look, if you raise $1 million for charity, you can kind of do whatever you want the next day. Right?
And it's usually at my mom's house on the couch.
So, no, that's awesome. I appreciate that. So I'm going to completely take a left turn here, though, because the other day, this is the part of the show that if you're still listening at this point, that I like to go a little bit off the rails. And I was looking, it popped up, and it was an article in Men's Health. And the title of the article is "What Your Car Says About You." All right. And it was funny because I heard a joke one day, and there was, and I'll just paraphrase it right down to the punchline. It's like, if you drive a Subaru, you're probably a lesbian, and if you drive a Jeep, you're probably bi. And I don't even remember the context of the joke leading up to that. But I thought, Jared, you're perfect for this. When you look at cars and you look at people, do you think there's what do you think when you see, for example, I'm going to read the first one, Audi. All right. Who do you think drives an Audi?
Zach.
Yeah, but that's true. Our carpool co-host, Zach, does drive an Audi. Jesse, when you see an Audi out at the park or wherever, just for fun, like when you look at that car, what kind of person drives that car?
Oh, gosh. Probably a good-looking soccer mom.
Maybe pretentious?
Well, let me read real quickly here. Audi, you're a millennial. You live in a city, most likely on one of the coasts, and you're a Democrat. So you nailed Zach there. You work in consulting or advertising, and you really like Coldplay. So that was Audi. Now, let's move on here. Ford. Who drives a Ford? Let's come on, play along.
Are you asking? I mean,
Yeah, like we're being lame, stereotypical here.
oh, just the working class. The working class. I guess working class.
Well, you
middle-aged
drive a
man.
Ford. I drive
I
a
do.
Ford. I do, but mine was practical. Yours is.
Mine is well. The reason I drive a Ford is because my dad worked there for 37 years.
My grandpa worked there for 30.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I'm gonna take the bait here. I would say.
Well, let me help you a little bit. I'll read the first paragraph, and then you can chime in here. You think of yourself as friendly but direct, and you work in building or construction. Kind of close.
Yeah.
Right? Blue collar.
Yep.
You own a dog, and you're either a Gen Xer or a baby boomer. Gen Xer and a baby boomer, right?
That's a pretty good description, I guess.
I mean, it nailed me. And then it's like you love football, beef jerky, and pumpkin pie.
I like all those.
There we go. Last one here. All right,
I drive a Ford, by the way.
You drive a Ford too? You're a Gen Xer too, aren't
Yeah.
you? Yep. See, nailed. Well, wait a second though. Are you? You turn up the radio for Toby Keith and Van Halen.
Absolutely.
Both.
Is that on the bar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this bar.
And you like getting your hands dirty, gardening or fishing.
Yes.
I'm not a fisher, but I'll garden.
Okay.
I'm the opposite. I'll fish. I'm not gardening.
You prefer to buy American. You wear Converse and Dickies and shop at Walmart.
I would not ever step foot in Walmart in my life.
No, I don't do any of those
Okay,
either.
so it was close. Lost us all on the last line. All right. What? Give me one more. Give me a car here.
Let's go with.
Let's see here. There's where to go.
Let's go
This
with
would-
the Mercedes Benz.
Mercedes. Well, how about BMW?
Okay, we'll go BMW.
You consider yourself knowledgeable. You're likely under 30 and you work in accounting or architecture. I mean, I know two architects that both drive BMWs. You feel strongly that foreign-made cars are higher quality and you're more likely than other people to have a fish for a pet. And we'll leave it there.
Wow.
I know. I mean, like the amount of just
Stereotypes.
yeah, in cars. And the thing is, like, when I'm on the highway, when I see certain cars, okay, let's get back to soccer dads, soccer moms. When you see a black Tahoe, who's driving?
The moms.
And they usually have a sticker, right? The club sticker.
Yeah.
And then the family of 7, decreasing sizes. Well, so I've officially taken that off the rails. I really appreciate your time, Jesse.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, really respect everything you have built, everything you're doing here. Clearly, your engagement with the club and the kids is extremely commendable. Best of luck with Guns and Hoses. Again, give everybody real quick that's listening how they buy tickets.
They can go down to SkyTrade Center, Enterprise Center. You can buy them on Ticketmaster as well. The night of the event, they will be on sale this year, unless we saw it in advance. And then also, you can check it out on Fight TV, FIT.TV. We have a telethon going that night as well. And then you can donate. You can watch, do anything, spread the word. Like, truly.
Okay.
We're on Fox 2 live that night from 7 to 9. Myself, Chris Pronger, and Tom Ackerman.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, best of luck with that evening. I do have a quick short story, and
Yeah.
we'll walk it out here, and it's about your joint. My oldest son, we talked about him earlier, loved soccer, much better musician. When he was going through a phase as a player, he didn't like hitting. He didn't like getting hit. He was afraid of the ball, whole 9 yards. And we had this brilliant idea to enroll him on a Saturday morning class here.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
It was a dumb idea popped in my head. I'm like, you know what? I think they do this little light kickboxing thing on Saturdays, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of open.
Yes.
So my wife, Ann Keller, came down here on a Saturday. They did it for a number of Saturdays in a row, and got in on the mat, put on the gloves, kicked each other for a while and everything else, and like it worked. It worked. Like he immediately on the field was a little bit more confident, and my wife thought she was a badass too. So I'm giving you another opportunity here to sell your services because soccer moms, this works. You get the kids in here.
Yeah, I'm not real good on selling like myself or the brand or anything else, but like
it worked.
Well, I appreciate it. So yes, I mean I've owned a gym here for 25 years. We do, I would say 95% of the people here are not fighters, right?
Yeah.
So we do personal training upstairs in the health club. We do kickboxing, boxing, mixed martial arts, and for adults and kids downstairs, we really focus on attitude, discipline, and respect for the kids.
Yeah,
like it's very structured with the kids. Most of the adults are here to lose weight, get in shape, and relieve stress, to be honest with you. And it's the best workout you'll ever get when it comes to like kickboxing, boxing, something along those lines. And then the other business I own is Shamrock FC. You know, so you ever want to be entertained, and it's 21 and up at all the casinos, and it's quite an event for anybody if you're looking for something different to come to. And
Heck yeah.
I mean, 340 events later, and our event last Saturday was probably the loudest event we've ever had.
We'll have to get a crew and go.
I got one parting question.
Yep.
I'm just going to say the name, and I want you to give me your knee-jerk opinion. Jake Paul.
Jake Paul.
Yes, thank you. I forgot.
You know, I'm probably I don't know how to say this. I mean, first of all, I think he's a better fighter than what people give him credit for. That's
Yes.
number one. Number two, if you know the sport of boxing, for the most part, the first 10 fights you fight in boxing, you're fighting cans. Like, you do not fight quality opponents, which I think is wrong in the whole sport of things, right? In boxing, Jake Paul, if you look at the people he's fought in his first I don't know how many fights he has now, 7-8 fights, he's fought better people than probably Floyd Mayweather did. And you know, you probably looked that up.
Yep.
I'll bet you with better records. He's fought tougher competition. Do I think he's a clown? I don't like the way he carries himself. Do I think he's good for the sport? Yes. Is he getting more eyeballs on the sport? Yes.
Paul Silva, real?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There's no
100%.
way that champ Silva would
Not
ever
a
get
chance.
stepping up.
Zero chance. And I know Anderson a little bit, and I also know his camp, and I know his manager, and I know all those guys. Zero chance. The guy's a billionaire. I mean,
Yeah.
he doesn't need the money. He's gonna go out there and risk, his reputation the rest of his life. And you gotta understand something, man. When you're a fighter, you're a fighter. You're a competitor. You're a competitor. You already got enough money. It's not happening. Zero chance on any of that. And it's like the conspiracy theory. I just on all that crap. No chance.
Good enough. Thanks.
Well, I tell you what, man, that was awesome. I really appreciate your time. Wish you the best. I'm sure we're going to be bumping into each other often with the U10 groups through the next probably 5, 6, 7 years.
Look forward to it.
It's going to be fun. Good luck to your daughter's team as well. Good luck on Guns and Hoses. Jared, thanks for joining in today. If you're listening, if you made it this far, God bless you. Give us a follow. We're everywhere on all the socials, Spotify, Apple Pod, etc. The Soccer Dad Pod. There's enough listeners at this point where you can actually just type in Soccer Dad Pod and it'll pre-populate. So appreciate your time. Jesse, thank you. We'll catch up again soon. Jared, see you soon.
See ya.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.